After the financial crisis in the late 1990s in Japan, that's pretty much when everything went downhill. Because as we all know, Japan manufactures a lot of our, cars and electronics and everything. Not only just China, but it's like ever since then, it was hard to get back on track. So after an industrial part, within the last century, and then the last three generations, it just can't keep up because now we have burnout culture where everybody's pretty much working themselves to death, right? Almost similar to America, but let's go ahead and check out what's going on in Japan's social side. Like people that are like in their 20s and 30s, they're just sitting at home and just wasting. Let's go ahead and find out what's going on.
Today, in their early 20s, many live like real zombies. These young people even earned a name in history, the decadent generation. They dream of a successful career, but firmly believe that Japan's golden economic age is gone forever. They grew up surrounded by this internal conflict, slowly losing passion and hope for the future. If you walk through the streets of Tokyo, especially the Shibuya crossing, the largest in Asia, you'll notice something curious. A sea of rushing middle-aged adults. But where are the young people? A study by a professor at Beijing Normal University revealed that if you pick a random passerby on the streets of Japan, the chances of it being a young Japanese person are less than 10%. So where are they? Hiding inside their homes. Japanese youths have become pioneers of lying flat.
Let's correct that. They're hiding in their families' homes because most of these people can't afford to live on their own as everything is so expensive, just like here in America.
The culture of giving up and withdrawing from society. They're known as otakus, no social life, no dating, indifferent even toward family relationships. The number of otakus easily reaches the millions, spread across cities of all sizes, and this includes both genders. They've completely changed the world's image of Japan. Many still imagine those cheerful Japanese girls in short skirts during winter, full of energy. But that image belongs to the past. Today, the proportion of single women between 18 and 35 is around 51%, a shocking number. When these statistics first appeared, many online users thought it had to be fake. But it's real. Being young should mean dating, planning the future, dreaming big. But Japanese youth have all but abandoned even the basic instinct of finding a partner. And it doesn't matter whether they're rich or poor, almost none of them want to date, and even less marry or have children.
Wow, doesn't that sound familiar? Bring it back over here to America. Is feminism touching Japan?
Take Matsumoto Hatsune, a young Japanese woman from a wealthy family, daughter of a senior executive. Just mention dating or marriage and her face collapses as she begins to vent. Dating? It's just one problem after another. Honestly, it's better to stick to fairy tales. Isn't work tiring enough already? Why would I look for someone just to share more stress and frustration? And she's not alone. Due to Japanese cultural norms, even girls from rich families are expected to start working early, not to become decorative figures.
Meaning, they're not going to be sponsored by their well-off parents. They're still expected to pretty much get off their ass and start a life of their own without depending on the family's wealth.
That's why many of them don't see romance as something desirable. And poor young women? Their situation is even worse. Young people from ordinary families carry 3 heavy mountains on their backs. The responsibility of caring for elderly relatives, economic pressure to have children. In East Asian culture, the idea of family runs deep. One single child often has to support multiple elderly relatives. And Japan is one of the fastest aging countries in the world. The result, young people with little money, heavy workloads, and overwhelming responsibilities. A bit of pressure can be good, but too much pressure destroys anyone.
Hard work pays off. Not when you're burning out. If it's gonna burn you out, it's not worth it.
And it destroyed Japan's youth. They work without motivation, live just...
Are you serious? When people walk by, they're gonna see you. So if you hide from the boss, that's not a good place to hide. The proper place to hide is behind items in a closet.
To survive alone, and move through life almost mechanically, asking them to date, marry, or have children. Practically impossible. And the middle-aged adults, the ones who should be the good example. Unfortunately, they're collapsing too. This generation was born at the peak of Japan's economic prosperity, abundant wealth, endless opportunities.
Have you noticed something though? Bring it back to the West, or even in Australia, where there's a large Asian population in other English speaking countries as well. We could throw the UK in there too. But have you noticed that when you go into nursing homes in English speaking countries, have you noticed that you don't really see any other ethnicities in there but usually whites and blacks? Because we don't have the strong culture to look out for our relatives like the Asian cultures do, even the Spanish cultures as well. They usually don't let their relatives go to nursing homes because they know they'll be abused and treated like crap, right? So that's one thing you have to look at too. So when the youth take on these big responsibilities of looking out for the elderly, let alone starting a family of their own, then they're expected to work 12, 16-hour shifts a day. It's exhausting. It's work on top of work on top of work. There's no work-life balance. So that's one thing you have to understand too.
But the outcome? Middle-aged adults are also taking desperate measures. The reality is harsh. They grew up at the top of Japan's economic well-being, spent money as if it would last forever, and lost everything in the financial crisis. When the new century arrived, they had no savings left and were forced to return to the job market, earning low wages, enduring pressure from bosses, trapped in suffocating office routines. According to Japan's white paper on suicide prevention, the suicide rate among people over 35 has been rising year after year, even as the country's total population continues to shrink.
And to add insult to injury, in both China and Japan, your typical corporate office worker, they usually go out to happy hour with their boss and their colleagues. And if you're somebody that doesn't participate and hang out with your colleagues, you're considered a weirdo, especially if you live and have your own place by yourself. So it's nothing like the West far as, what you're viewed as if you don't live a certain lifestyle. In the United States, nobody's going to judge you for being over 35 and single and no children. But over there, they will.
In the last quarter of 2022 alone, the city of Nagoya recorded 244 suicides among middle-aged adults, the highest number in more than 30 years. On January 22, 2023, a middle-aged employee of the Japanese company Dentsu reached a breaking point when he climbed to the top of the building and ended his journey in a tragic way.
Whoa. And see, the crash out is real, because see, people are crashing out in America too. But you want to know something that's interesting? All over the world, if you round up the numbers, most of the people that are crashing out are men. Because see, women usually get attention from almost anything, so they have no reason to delete themselves unless they're just really mentally insane, right? So usually when men do it, it's because of the expectations of people around them. They're constantly judged, they're not men enough, they don't have enough money, they're not in shape. They get pushed to the edge, and next thing you know, they crash out, delete themselves. Boom.
His name was Daikai Kumatai, and he had just turned 49. In his daily life, he was always kind to his co-workers. No one suspected the storm he was carrying inside. But his life had fallen apart. His parents had recently been hospitalized. His wife had passed away 2 years earlier. His 2 children spent nearly the entire day at home, neither studying nor working. His only reason to step outside was to go to the convenience store and buy a bento. At work, he faced constant pressure and humiliation from his superiors, along with heavy overtime. The entire family's income depended solely on him.
See? You see the silver lining now? And see, even for Asian people in America, some of them carry that tradition over into other countries. From first generation, second generation to third generation. Don't be surprised if you have a colleague of another ethnicity and his whole family relies off of his income. It's there. You just don't, they're not going to tell you, but a lot of times you have a lot of coworkers like this.
And all the responsibility fell squarely on his shoulders. Enormous hospital expenses, supporting his children, deep loneliness, years of emotional weight piling up. The accumulation of these pressures pushed him to his limit, leading to that desperate act atop Dentsu's building. Daichi's case is far from isolated. Many middle-aged Japanese earn modest salaries but must support elderly parents and adult children.
So basically, they don't have any money afterwards. They would have a lot more money if they didn't have to support their aging parents. Because a lot of times, it's like, the elderly are usually on a fixed income, and that fixed income is usually not enough. Like, the elderly cannot afford rent by themselves, not even from their retirement. That's why a lot of American retirees are moving to places like Vietnam and the Philippines, because they could actually live comfortably off their retirement without seeking side jobs. Why do you think there's so many door greeters at Costco and Walmart? Because they can't afford to live off just their retirement alone, or it'll run out too quick. The goal is to stretch out the retirement until maybe the end of their time, because a lot of them are going to run out before they expire.
An almost impossible task. On top of that, they grew up during Japan's golden economic era and cannot cope with the brutal contrast between the prosperous past and today's instability. Some even end up taking jobs considered less prestigious, such as janitorial work, security, or service positions, roles they never imagined doing decades earlier. With the rise of these tragic episodes, the Japanese government began sending police teams monthly to monitor certain sensitive areas. Officially, it's for prevention. In practice, it's to deal with what has already happened. Meanwhile, young people are unmotivated, and middle-aged adults are crushed under the weight of responsibility, which leaves us with the elderly. And their situation is just as troubling. In the past, Japanese elders were admired for their longevity. Today, they face a cruel reality. The longer they live, the harder life becomes. Many spend their days alone, drinking, simply waiting for time to pass.
Drinking what? Yak? Cognac? All right, wow. That's crazy. And just look at the look on his face. Jeez. Like, what am I going to do?
A typical scenario looks like this. A person retires at 65, but after paying off their mortgage, almost nothing is left. So they must keep working, even into their 70s or beyond.
Yeah, and it gets worse for that here in America, because they're trying to push 50-year mortgages on homes because people are living longer. But the problem is, who wants to be a slave to a property? And it's never truly going to be yours if you're paying property tax.
Longevity, once a badge of pride, has become a burden. Amr Masashi, the protagonist of the documentary The Ruin of Old Age, is a living example of this drama. He lives in extreme poverty. Fruits and vegetables are luxuries. They almost never appear on his table. His meals consist of cheap sushi and bento boxes, calorie-dense and low in nutrition. And every day, to endure his routine, he drinks a few...
All right, we're going to stop it right there. So you pretty much get what's going on there. Of course, I left the link down there to the original post. Shout out to All Asian Dilemmas. That's pretty interesting, though. So pretty much all around the world, the same thing is going on with the younger generations. They're not, even though they're able to earn more than the previous generations, there's not much left due to inflation and, well, I hate to say it, but it'll probably be a burden for them, but being for the fact that they have to look out for the elderly too. So they're expected to start their own family while they take care of their aging elders at the same time, on top of their long working hours jobs. So that's a lot. Talk about 3 double whammies right there. But anyway, this is Kai Laveo. I'll catch you in the next video. Goodbye.